Those two young men you see there, they are making more money than my salary. Those guys. Musiwaone hivi ati wamevaa sijui t-shirt namna gani. Those guys are serious entrepreneurs. Wapige makofi tena. Congratulations for trailblazing.
We all probably thought this was just a joke. But what if the president was actually telling the truth? Every time we see celebrities throwing million-shilling weddings, cruising in Porsche cars, or flaunting mansions we only dream of, one thought crosses most Kenyans' minds, that this can't be legit, they must be into shady deals and so on. And sure, every industry has its dark corners, but such are negligible, especially in the entertainment industry. Truth is that a surprising number of Kenyan celebrities are actually turning creativity into serious cash, legitimately. I mean, it's a whole new generation of entertainers who have actually figured out to make talent pay. From DJs pocketing more than a doctor's salary in a single month, to musicians raking in millions just from shows, and even comedians stacking up fortunes from their craft.
The most amount of money I've ever made for a campaign, 6 million.
6 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this documentary, we investigate how much top Kenyan celebrities earn, and of course reveal which entertainment category sits at the very top of the money chain. If there's any group of entertainers who have mastered the art of turning talent into treasure, it is musicians. They are arguably the highest earners in Kenya's entertainment industry. And what's even more interesting is that their financial success is not always proportional to how new their music is. Take Sophia Nzau, for example. She went viral with just one song, and that was Mwaki in the year 2024. And suddenly, she has been dominating Spotify and YouTube charts month after month with just that single hit. And as of 2025, Mwaki has garnered over 344 million streams on Spotify alone. A rough estimate means that she has cumulatively earned over 100 million Kenyan shillings in royalties. And that's without counting other streaming platforms or even live performances. Anyway, that was just a slight analogy. Let's talk about other musicians in general and how much they might be earning monthly. For musicians, there are multiple income streams for them. Once a song is out there and well received by the audience, money starts trickling in from every single angle. Talk of YouTube, Spotify streams, event gigs, Skiza tunes, and of course the game changer for them is normally brand endorsement. That's about 4 to 5 solid streams of income from just a single song. So for a Kenyan musician at their peak, earning at least 500,000 Kenyan shillings per month is the bare minimum. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Vernacular musicians like Prince Indah or even Samido are some of the real kings of this game, and that's because they dominate their regions and face very little competition. I mean, they can always perform all over the country, bearing in mind that their ethnic communities are also spread across Kenya, because you'll definitely find a lot in Nairobi or even Mombasa, Nakuru and Eldoret, meaning that Prince Indah's market, for example, is not concentrated, unlike other mainstream artists who will in most cases have their market centralized in urban areas. That's why it's no surprise when these vernacular musicians stay fully booked, sometimes even for a consecutive 3 months. And remember, we haven't even added online streams and brand endorsements to the endless gigs. By that rough calculation, it's easy to see how Prince Indah could pull in over 2 million shillings every month just from performing on stage. Listen to this. For one show alone, he charges nothing less than 300,000 shillings. And with 2 to 3 shows every week, I mean, the math speaks for itself. And a bit of that also applies to other mainstream musicians. They have shows every weekends, continuous online streams, endorsements from brands, and so on. And the cycle continues like that, as long as they stay relevant. And remember, as I said earlier, that being a financially successful musician is not just about releasing hit songs every other time. Branding can sometimes pay even more. For instance, rapper King Kaka, at his peak, had over 10 major brands that he was advertising for.
Okay, first of all, able to hesabu.
Hey.
Ni akina nani una work now?
So ITEL, brand ambassador.
Okay.
Sportsbet.io. Alafu kuna Beat Casino, brand ambassador. Base.
Okay.
Dentmite.
Now do the math. Even if each brand paid him just 300,000 shillings monthly, that's already over 3 million before he even steps on stage. So when you see Calligraph building a multi-million mansion, and don't be too quick to question his source of income, the numbers actually add up. But of course, it wasn't always glamorous like this. A generation of musicians had to crawl so this generation could walk. As recently as 15 years ago, musicians only relied on selling CDs to monetize their art, and that market was deeply destroyed by piracy. So what musicians had left for serious income generation then was only event gigs, which was also marred by a lot of gatekeeping. But then came the digital era, which entirely flipped the script, opening up multiple revenue streams that today make Kenyan musicians some of the most bankable entertainers in the region. And now let's move to the second entertainment category that also seemed to have created some big beneficiaries lately, and that is comedy. For a long time, more than 10 years actually, comedy in Kenya could almost be summed up in just 2 words: Churchill Show. That stage was the holy grail for any upcoming comedian, but then insiders confessed that it was more of a platform than a real job. Apparently at Churchill Show, if a comedian was lucky enough in a month, they'd go home with around 24,000 shillings, unless of course if they had extra gigs like hosting or endorsements. The payment breakdown was something like 1,000 shillings if a comedian made the cut to perform that week, and an extra 5,000 shillings if the act made it to TV. That would total up to 6,000 shillings for a good week.
Kuna kathao backstage. Get the thao, fair and do that. When you air, kuna ka kitu. Fine.
When if you air?
It was 5K. Okay, if you air, it was 5K. All right? So, tulikuwa natamani hata kaka 5K. Unapiga mazezi, yani unatamani siku moja air tu yani.
Back then, if a stand-up comedian managed to pull in 100,000 Kenyan shillings in a month after combining every single stream, they were considered among the best paid in Kenya. But thank heavens for the digital era, because it has literally changed everything. Nowadays, comedy is no longer tied to one stage. Skits, social media reels, comedy shows, all opened up new doors for comedians. And trust me, the money is currently flowing in ways that comedians could only dream of before. Take Mlamua, for instance. In less than 3 months of posting, he has made close to 3 million Kenyan shillings on Facebook alone. Then we have other skit comedians like Crazy Kenyan and Flacco, who have completely transformed their lives in just 5 years. I mean, they have reaped every single fruit from their craft. Flacco even revealed that during the COVID-19 period, he made over 20 million shillings purely from advertising deals. Just imagine that.
I think in Zakamifika 20
20 million.
Yeah.
During COVID.
During COVID.
Lately, he has leaned heavily into YouTube, and together with a few brand deals, he is definitely earning solid money, nothing less than 500,000 shillings monthly. On the other hand, for Crazy Kena, his old red card showed that the cheapest thing you could get from him was an Instagram story post for about 35,000 Kenyan shillings. On the higher end, a TV commercial from him would cost you as much as 3.7 million Kenyan shillings, and that was like 2 years ago. You can only imagine what his rates are now as of 2025. On the stand-up comedy side, the game has also shifted. Comedians are no longer waiting on umbrella platforms, but instead, they are creating their own shows and brands. Take YY Comedian for instance. This year alone, he has successfully pulled off 2 sold-out shows. Let's break it down. If each hall had at least 1,000 people, with regular tickets at 1,500 shillings each, that's 3 million shillings right there. Add VIP tickets and a few brands that sponsor the show, and you're looking at between 4 to 5 million Kenyan shillings gross income. Even after the planning expenses, that still spreads out to at least 200,000 shillings monthly throughout the year. Not bad at all. And do stand-up comedians really reap from YouTube? Well, for them, the YouTube income is just extra pocket change, and that's because they will only post 1 or 2 shows in a year, which do not really bring much income from YouTube. The real money comes from big comedy specials, endorsements, and appearances at events even across the border. Then there's Eric Omondi. These days he hardly depends on shows. Instead, his brand is so strong that adverts and endorsements keep his pockets heavy. In fact, it's rare to go 2 days without Eric dropping a new ad on his socials. And with that level of visibility, he's one of the few comedians who can confidently say that they earn over 1 million shillings every single month. And let's not forget, many stand-up comedians also make good money as event hosts and MCs. It's a reliable side hustle that keeps the cash coming in between big shows. As for skit comedians, who currently form the bigger percentage in Kenya, most of them are making good money, from brands especially. But here's the catch. Hype fades fast, and when it does, brands move on. That's why the only comedians whose incomes can be confidently approximated are those who have built stable brands over the years, and their fame have lasted beyond few viral moments. And now let's shift gears to another corner of the entertainment world that has quietly produced some of the richest celebrities in Kenya, and that is DJs and MCs. Now, unlike musicians or content creators, MCs and DJs depend almost entirely on live gigs. They're what you'd call the silent millionaires of showbiz. They don't need to drop new tracks every month or chase YouTube views to earn. The real money comes from being booked. Talk of weddings, club events, corporate parties, concerts, you name it. And that's why social media for them works more like a billboard than a source of income. It's where they market their brand, share snippets from performances, and show clients what to expect. But when it comes to real earnings, that is all off screen. They can't even monetize most of their mixes on YouTube because of copyright issues. Now let's talk numbers. Take DJ Joe Mfalme, one of Kenya's most established names, with over 10 years in the industry. He charges between 200 to 300,000 shillings per event. Now imagine, if he's booked for 2 or 3 gigs in a week, that's nearly 2 million shillings at the end of the month. And that's before adding side deals like TV and radio contracts. Joe Mfalme has previously worked with media stations such as Homeboys Radio and Maisha Magic East. And of course, not every DJ can charge those figures. It all comes down to brand power and demand. A big name like Joe Mfalme or DJ Pierre McKenna will never quote the same fee as someone who is just starting out. But even so, any DJ with a solid following and regular bookings is likely pulling in at least 100,000 shillings for every gig. Then we have MCs, the hype masters of every show.
Anakuomba 2K urgently, unamwambia una. Anakasirika kukuliko.
The work may look fun and spontaneous, but their rates are nothing casual. Someone like MC Gogo, who is currently among the most booked event source in Kenya, Gogo won't take anything less than 150,000 shillings for a single event. And with around 8 to 10 gigs in a month, and a few endorsement deals of course, it is safe to say that he makes well over 1 million shillings every month. And when major festivals and corporate concerts roll around, think of Oktoberfest, Blankets and Wine, Luo Festival, etc., the rates can double or even triple. So yeah, while most people might think DJs and MCs are just out here shouting on mics and playing other people's songs, the truth is that behind the decks and microphones are some of the smartest earners in Kenya's entertainment industry. Now let's talk about the next category, the people who have entertained us for the longest time, but strangely, don't always get the same success off screen. I'm talking about actors and actresses. You see, back then, most actors were earning peanuts. Some of them, even the ones you see every week on national TV, took home as little as 3,000 shillings per episode. Yeah, imagine that. Being famous across the country, but still struggling to make ends meet. Later, those figures climbed to about 10,000 shillings per episode. But still, that wasn't much considering how demanding the job was. Fast forward to now, things are getting better. The Kenya Actors Guild released a guideline in 2023 saying that lead actors should earn at least 30,000 shillings per episode. Supporting roles, on the other hand, were to earn about 15 to 20,000 shillings, while junior lead roles were to earn about 25,000 shillings per episode. It is an improvement, yes, but still far from glamorous.
An extra in South Africa in Kenyan money gets over 100,000 shillings.
Are you serious?
Per episode.
So sisi tunalipwa kama ma extras.
So sisi tunalipwa less than extras. So sisi hatuna term yoyote in South Africa.
Are you serious?
Hatuna.
I once spoke to Sammy King, a Kenyan actor who has appeared in multiple Maisha Magic and Showmax series. And by the way, he also featured on Citizen TV's Machachari show, where he played a character named Tosh. Anyway, Sammy revealed that he once earned around 1 million Kenyan shilling for an entire Showmax season.
1.3, 1.4, yeah, 1.4 million.
For a season.
For this season, yes. For this whole season, I've earned 1.4 million.
Now that might sound like a lot, but when you break it down over several months of filming and long breaks in between projects, it's not exactly a stable income that an actor of that caliber should be earning. And that's really one of the biggest challenges that Kenyan actors are facing. That is why most actors try to branch out, some venturing into YouTube and many other things. Take Pascal Tokodi for example. He has managed to balance acting, music, and many other side gigs. But then platforms like Showmax, Netflix Kenya, or even DSTV's Maisha Magic have definitely opened new doors for Kenyan actors. But the problem now is that most Kenyans are not really consuming enough local content. My countrymen, as long as we prefer watching foreign shows, our actors will keep earning less than they deserve. So to sum it up all, while a few established names in the acting industry might pull in 300,000 shillings or more every month, for most Kenyan actors, it is still a serious grind. And for them, their career is driven more by passion than pay. And finally, let us wrap this up with the youngest yet the fastest growing category in the Kenyan entertainment scene, and that is content creation and influencing. These guys are truly having their moment, at least when they are still relevant. Let me work with Mungai Eve for example. A social media rate card speaks for itself. A simple Instagram story from her could cost you around 3,500 shilling, while a single post on her page might go as high as 20,000 shilling. Now imagine her working with up to 10 brands in a good month, plus the few long-term deals she has. That alone could easily bring her over 300,000 shillings monthly, and that is just on Instagram. When you add income from other platforms like YouTube, Facebook, or even X, things really start to add up. Creators like Lin Ngugi or even the Rui family, who pull in over 2 million views every month on YouTube, are believed to earn between 200 to 500,000 shillings monthly, depending on how different videos perform. Now, among the biggest names currently making waves on YouTube, we have Oga Obinna and Dr. Kingori. For Obinna, it is clear he has mastered this digital game. His videos have been pulling massive views consistently, and when you factor in his comedy, music, and several brand partnerships, it is safe to say he earns well above 1 million shillings a month. He might not like being placed under YouTubers because he is more than that, but his online presence has definitely become a big part of his success story. Then we have Dr. Kingori. Unlike many creators, Kingori has tapped into a YouTube niche that pays extremely well, and that is finance content. Plus his videos tend to be longer, which just means more adverts roll within his videos, and with that kind of loyal audience he has, there's no doubt he's earning somewhere around 500,000 shillings or even more from YouTube alone. So whether it is through content creation, comedy, music, or any other talent, one thing is clear, that most Kenyan entertainers are currently cashing in big time. And that is it for today's episode. Thanks for sticking around throughout the entire video. And if you liked this breakdown, don't forget to like the video or even drop a comment telling me which category impressed you the most. And most importantly, especially for our new viewers, subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode where we will also dig deep into another topic. Until then, goodbye.